online. So I introduce myself. I'm François Flon. I'm the chair of the Nuclear Engineering Department and also director of the Emirates Nuclear Technology Center. So we wanted to take the opportunity of this seminar to present you the opportunities given by the nuclear power program in the UAE, which started about 12 years ago, which is under, I would say, good progress with one nuclear power plant which is in operation and connected to the grid. The second one which has been recently commissioned and which will be also connected to the grid, and two other nuclear power plants that will be finalized and connected also to the grid in the coming years. So which means that by 2030 we expect nuclear energy to produce 25% of the energy produced in UAE, which will contribute to reduce the CO2 emission. Also, it has to be taken into account that such a facility will be in operation for at least the next 60 years, and we need the support of, I would say, all the human resources in terms of both engineering but also R&D to support and to optimize the operation of the facility these facilities for the next at least 60 years or more. So I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Saïd Al-Amiri, who will start with this seminar, and also regarding the ENTC, Emirates Nuclear Technology Center. This is a joint research center with three stakeholders: Khalifa University, also ENEC, the Energy Corporation, and also FANAR, the regulator. So we will have contributors from each of these stakeholders, showing you how it is interesting to join this program and to contribute to the nuclear power plant program in the UAE. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Francois, for the introduction. So let me first, I think I need to share this in Teams as well. So today I will start talking about brief. Let me take this out, about nuclear engineering and the nuclear program here at Khalifa University. Then I will give the mic for my colleagues from FANAR. Ms. Shayma Mansouri will talk about FANAR contribution to the nuclear program in terms of human capacity building, and also my colleague Mr. Ahmed Al-Naimi from ENEC, that he will also discuss the topic from ENEC perspective. So quickly going over some introduction about the nuclear engineering, what we mean by nuclear engineering. So for students or graduate or undergraduate students coming to the nuclear field, maybe they don't have information or they don't have background in nuclear engineering. So nuclear engineering actually is a way to utilize the radiation and radioactive materials into the benefit of the human being around the globe. And of course, we use or we bring the nuclear energy from the nucleus of an atom through nuclear reaction. And this of course follows, if you maybe many of you knows the mass energy equivalence Einstein law rule. So of course, through the nuclear history, there is different uses of nuclear energy, either in the peaceful applications or the other applications, and that depends on the way you control the nuclear reactions, either in a controlled manner or uncontrolled manner. So if it's in controlled manner, you will produce energy for peaceful uses, and if it's uncontrolled manner, you will reach to the explosive. So if if we want to have an understanding of what's the energy equivalence for the nuclear fuel. So if you can see here like small fuel pellets of uranium at this size will be equivalent to like burning 149 gallons of oil or even 1 ton of coal. So it's a very condensed energy source. So use of nuclear energy, either we have two main way of using or bringing nuclear energy, either by fission or fusion. The one used around the world right now is by fissioning. Fusion is in a heavy development right now. So what's the difference between the two? Fissioning, we just split heavier nuclei into lighter ones to create energy. While very basically I'm talking about. While fusion reaction, you are fusing lighter nuclei to form a heavier one and producing big amount of energy under certain conditions. So the nuclear power also not only could be used for electricity generation, but also for desalination and other process heat applications, like district heating, or it could be also used at some extent to hydrogen production, and so on. The other way of nuclear energy is the nuclear propulsion. And here we use the nuclear propulsion to drive ships, submarines, or even nuclear rockets into space. So how about the use of radiation and isotopes? We are talking about nuclear energy from this angle. How about the other angle? We have many applications for radiation and isotopes that we could be used in our everyday life. We produce those isotopes from either research reactors or from through isotope separation or from neutron accelerators. And the application for these kind of isotopes is, and radiation in general varies in many applications. I just summarize very briefly here in the medical field for therapy or diagnostics, and for let's say for agriculture, for sterilizing of some storage material for the food, and for other wear management and engineering in general, like for example making a very accurate analysis of let's say an airplane surface. You want to see the microstructure of the surface in that airplane, for example. So those are the different applications for radiation isotopes. Now this is just a brief about nuclear engineering, and now I will talk about the education programs and R&D activities here at Khalifa University. So history about Khalifa University. We started as the Etisalat College of Engineering back in '89. Then the Petroleum Institute, and actually Petroleum Institute was established in 2000, and both Masdar Institute and old Khalifa University, Q-Star, was established in 2007. And then with the presidential rule, we merged the three institutions, the Petroleum Institute, Masdar Institute, and Q-Star, into the newly formed Khalifa University in 2017. Ranking, I think you can see this very quickly in the website for KU or for any news. Khalifa ranked 183rd globally in the QS ranking this year, and 9th in the Arab regions, while we have in the range between 151 to 175 globally in the Times Higher Education ranking. So strategy for Khalifa University is to be the catalyst of the growth of the country in terms of developing a knowledge-based economy, and to lead in the education and research. The strategy priorities, we have to be world-class education, influential research, and also, as we said, catalyst for the economic development of the country. Institutes and colleges we have here at the university. The institutes are mainly the Artificial Intelligence Institute, and also Petroleum Institute and Master Institute. So as a research entity, we have the Master Institute and PI Institute there. And colleges, we have College of Engineering, that's there from long time. Also we have the College of Arts and Science, and also we have the newly established College of Medicine and Health Sciences. Let's focus now on the College of Engineering, because I am trying to come to our nuclear engineering department. We have different programs in the College of Engineering, and this is could be found very easily in our website. So for the Department of Nuclear Engineering, actually launched in 2010, and the main mission for the department establishment is to serve the UAE peaceful nuclear program. That's why I started, almost the same time back in one year earlier, actually in 2009. And we started the nuclear peaceful program in the country by the acquisition of 4 APR 1400 reactors. The programs we have in our department, we have minor program with the Bachelor Engineering programs, minor nuclear engineering. We have Master of Science and PhD program. Areas of expertise varies from thermohydraulics, material science, reactor physics, and radiological protection. The main stakeholders we have is, of course, we have a representative here that will speak to you later on from the Federal Authority of Nuclear Regulation, FANR, and the Emirates Nuclear Energy Corporation, ENIC. And also we have the NOAA, which is the operating company for the nuclear reactors. Number of graduates of students, this is a little bit maybe old statistics in 2020. We have almost more than 70 graduates from all the programs we have here at Khalifa University in the nuclear engineering program. So for the minor program, I think I would just talk briefly about it. In any minor program here at Khalifa University, the students need to take at least 15 credit hours. And those credit hours in our nuclear minor program is based on the 5 courses here we have in the slide, from basic radiation science into more about the nuclear system operation and reactor physics of the nuclear reactors. For the Master of Science program, of course, it's 36 credit hours course. Start from core courses. We have the core courses here, also focused in the thermohydraulics of nuclear systems, reactor theory, and radiation measurements, and nuclear materials and chemistry. The student after that need to take the elective courses and the thesis to finish his master's degree in. For full-time students is about 3 years. For a part-time, at least 3 years, he need to finish his master's degree. For the PhD program, of course, the PhD program will take students in the nuclear engineering concentration from different disciplines, not only need to be focused or have a background in nuclear engineering specifically, but it could be from any engineering background that he can start the PhD program. The PhD program as well has some core courses that students need to take, which is really advanced courses than the master level courses. And also he need to establish and work on a thesis idea that is innovative and new in the field, and he need to defend that. Also he need to do a qualifying exam, and the different requirements you can find in Khalifa University website. Other programs related to nuclear science and energy, of course, we have the Master of Engineering in the Health Science and Environment with the concentration in the radiological protection. Is already established at Khalifa University, and it graduates qualified experts in the radiation field. And also we have the Master of Science in Medical Physics. So that program also aims to build the human capital for medical physicists in the country. And this program is already accredited and approved by the Ministry of Education, and will start, I think, very soon, maybe next semester, to receive new students. And many of the courses in both of these programs will be teaching from the Nuclear Engineering Department. So talking now about the research part. So we are actually within the Masdar Institute as a research focus. And we have in the focus of clean and renewable energy, the Emirates Nuclear Technology Center. So the Emirates Nuclear Technology Center, of course, established in end of 2019 with the sponsorship between Khalifa and Fanner and ENIC. So it's a newly established center actually during the pandemic, so many things are put on hold, but we try our best to move forward with the activities. The center established to serve the national nuclear technology agenda of the country, and to the university also to become a center of excellence in the R&D hub in nuclear engineering field, and to develop intellectual capital in the nuclear technology relevant to the energy, health, industry, or other fields relative to the nuclear science and energy. And I will just focus in the academia here as well, is to build scientific research, literature specific for the UAE, nuclear industry, and also to create competence in the field relative to the nuclear engineering as well. And one important aspect of it is to train UAE students we have in applied nuclear fields. I will just go quickly. I think I went over time here, and we started a little bit late. So the research focus of the center is through different themes, mainly 3 themes: nuclear system and safety, material and chemistry, radiation safety and environment. And you can read here what's the different aims and main aspects of the different themes. Also, as part of the department research focus, the whole nuclear program in the university is built around the research-oriented actually focus. So we have research or basic research at the bachelor level with other department students. So for example, mechanical students or electrical engineering, they can pick up a topic from with their perspective for nuclear engineering for their senior research design, and also research at the master level and even PhD level research. Also, we have the KU-IA Collaborating Center, and of course, the Collaborating Center is his objective is to focus on development and implement of specific courses in this field of collaboration with the IA, and to provide the infrastructure for courses and workshops that we can cover in this area. I think the workshop or the Collaborating Center is now due for, I think, renewal as well. And the activities includes training professionals and experts, using actually the capabilities of the experts from the IA and different industry collaborators we have, and also to develop and implement training and workshops as well, and help in fostering the human capacity in the country in terms of nuclear energy. So finally, we'll just say that establishment of nuclear engineering education and scholarship programs at the initial stage of the nuclear power plant construction is key to support the training and capacity building in the country. And we aim, of course, always for in the country and also international collaborations. We always be happy to see UAE students joining our programs to lead later on in this field, in the industry and even in the research field. Maybe I didn't mention the scholarship, but we have a scholarship. Buhuth scholarship, for example, you can search more for that in the Khalifa University website. It's open for all Emirati students joining the program. Thank you all, and I think I will leave the mic now for Ms. Shaima, please, to carry over her presentation. Yes, the question at the
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. So I'm Shaima Al-Mansouri, Director of Education and Training in FANR, and also I lead the research and development. Today in my presentation, I will take you over what's the mandate of FANR in very general and summary. From there, I will take you over the capacity building and how we care about our employees, how we develop them. As you know, UAE is very unique. We don't have such a situation happened around the world where we don't have engineers or nuclear engineers available that would support the operator or the regulator in order to do the activities. So we are developing the engineers, the nuclear engineers, the regulators, the operators. At the same time, we are conducting our activities and the required mandate. It is very unique. All over the world, usually they have research reactors. They take 10 to 15 years to come up to the level of having an actual operator and regulator. So I believe we are all in a unique journey. This is UAE. Always we want to be unique and the first. That's why we are running all over, but we are trying to accomplish. So the establishment of FANR, we were established back in 2009, and this was according to the federal law decree that was signed by Sheikh Khalifa. In the law, there was the establishment of FANR, the establishment also of ENIC at this period of time, and from there we had a nuclear law, the nuclear law that illustrates exactly what is the mandate, what is required from us, what are the standards that we are going to follow. And at this stage, this is for your information, FANR is going back again to review the nuclear law in order to ensure that we are up to date with our standards. FANR oversees, of course, the safety, the security, and the safeguards of all of the nuclear and radiation activities within the country. We report to our Director General. We have two divisions. One is operation that manages the core and the administration. We have our Director General, and then we have 7 board members that we report directly to, and they support us and manage us in the mandate. And all of them are Emiratis. They are appointed for 3 years. So our funds comes from our licensees. Our big licensee is the operator. Of course, and this is something probably you need also to understand and to link it with the strategy of United Arab Emirates. We have a certain KPIs that we report to the cabinet, to the Prime Minister by himself. And from there, we identified our strategic objectives and ensured that we are aligning it and we are competing with the global index. And after establishing INTEC, which focuses on research and development and cooperating with Khalifa University and ENIC, this raised the KPI of United Arab Emirates in the global index. So with all of this contribution, we made UAE position itself in certain level. So I'm not going to go over our objectives, just I want to highlight one important point. If you can see it in the mission, we have capacity building of Emiratis. This shows how the capacity building is very important and how we are ensuring that we provide our UAE nationals and our employees with the full support. So in my department, I ensured that one of the strategic objectives should be very important and I need to follow and also to report. So you can see here that two main strategic objectives, which is developing the sustainability of the nuclear and radiological infrastructure of the regulatory. Without the support of the strategic objectives, I won't be able to perform and do my job. And the second thing is to ensure that we are also supporting from an administrative perspective. The unique of my department is that I'm located in the operation, and this makes me easily speak with the engineers and understand their language very well. What are the main programs and the best practices that we are following? We do have the capacity building. I will take you over a very quick overview. We have our technical training that supports the 3 S's. You may hear a lot about the 3 S's, which is safety, security, and safeguards, the core business of FANR. Knowledge management is one of the very important aspects and pillars within the nuclear, and you can go over the IEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, and look about knowledge management and how it is really very important within the nuclear sector. It's one of the challenges that how we transfer the knowledge and the experience from the old generation to the new generation, and this is basically where we are facing in UAE, but we are trying our best with the required competencies and the resources. And of course, the human resources to support from employee relation perspective and other areas of HR and the research and development. So how does the life cycle of an employee starts in FANR? It starts, we take care of the employees starting from the recruitment phase, how we recruit them, how we ensure. Yesterday, I'm going to give you an actual examples. When we meet the engineers, the fresh graduates, we take them indirectly over some of the questions that we use in our competency framework. We give indirect questions to ensure they are developed very well, they have the academia background, and they are ready in order to implement what they have been learned over their journey in the university. And of course, we ensure to allocate them in the right places. I'm going to explain for you in a while how we do that. We care a lot about about their development. That's why we have a huge department that focuses only on learning and development, and we have another department for HR. How we retain our staff, and then from retiring. Yes, some of our staff, they retire, but we utilize them in giving some trainings and supporting us from a technical support organizations. This is very important in the role of the nuclear world. So very quickly, I know this is kind of complicated for you as a students, but this is how does a talent management model and how we interconnect everything within the required competencies. So how we care of our employees. We have a guide specified for each employee joins the organization from the start, as I mentioned for you, the recruitment, the manpower planning, how we care about their performance, how they are performing, similar to what you have like a rubric or what is required from you to do in your assignments, how you are graded. We take care in similar perspective, how we ensure succession planning is implemented, the knowledge is transferred, what kind of leadership courses we are providing, how do we require or what do we require a leader to have, what kind of competencies, either from a nuclear perspective or general, and what's required from our government. For example, tolerance is one of the important competencies, but it is not tolerance from the perspective which we have other areas. Knowledge management, as I mentioned, and this shows the interaction between all of the programs of the capacity building. Maybe this is really very important to look at as the career development of FANR. So how we start to take care of the graduates that join our organization from something called developee program. So we have a developee program that lasts for, or the duration is 18 months, and within the 18 months, this developee or this engineer, يعني in other words, let me say a trainee, but we give them the word of developee. We start to give them the required competencies from basics. Okay, so yes, you come, for example, as a mechanical engineer and you have minor in a nuclear, but this doesn't mean that you will have the actual practice. Although most of the graduates that comes from Khalifa University, mashallah, they are in a very good level and they are very unique. So we take care of them. My team ensures that they have a clear plan, clear objectives, clear assessments, clear projects that they are aware about, and we have a very high level of assigning those projects, which sometimes is projects related for the core department, but we give it for the developers, and we are really surprised of the achievements and the outcomes that we receive. So after nuclearizing, let me say, those engineers, we have a final assessment for them. After the final assessment, we allocate them in the required department. Sometimes we take care about their passion, and sometimes we see a future experience that they may explore, which as a graduate, they cannot see it at some level. So we had a lot of engineers where, for example, they came with civil engineering, and we directed them to be inspectors, and they were shining within their field. So after that, after they complete, and just to bear in mind, we are developing everything based on the backbone of our development is Competency Framework. This is something that we developed according to the IEA standards. We developed it and we customized it to suit FANR, of course, because always the regulator needs to have a very high level of experience, very high level of knowledge in order to inspect the licensees in a better way and in a very high level of standard. So after the developee program, they be enrolled in experienced professional program. This is not time limited. It is only ensured by a competency with a continuous assessments that we do for them. Some of the talents, so you can see here how we are supporting also the research. Some of the talents can take the leadership path, and some of them take the expert path, which is being experts within the field or researchers. We as a regulator, we have a mandate on us to do research and development. It's not about only experiments, it's about also to support us in certain decisions that we are deciding to have in our regulations and guides. So this is part of our role, and this is how we care about our employees. I'm not going to go over this, but this is just to show you how we are retaining our staff. Sometimes the nuclear takes 10 to 15 years, for example, to be a senior specialist within a nuclear field. So how we are going to retain those employees, how we will be able to motivate them. Every time we have kind of a breakdown for the grading, even though if there is no any slot open for them or vacancies, still they can grow, still they can have increases and financial rewarding. So the position is breakdown according to the grading system, and we ensure that this is kind of retaining and motivating and according to the, of course, competencies as I mentioned earlier. This is just to show you how is the developee program, how we care of them, starting from the onboarding program, which has very basic and general trainings to understand the regulator position. Then we take them over technical trainings, which is in-depth, more in safety, nuclear safety, radiation safety, safeguards, security. So we are giving more of a level of competencies required. Then we take them into job rotation. The job rotation is within the departments, of course, to understand, and we assign a project for them. For example, we assigned a project related for nuclear safety. So we do a study tour for them, and we take them to some of the international countries just for the sake of understanding and knowing the best practices from international perspective. And then they shadow the experts over there, and we call it on-job training sometimes. Of course, we should not forget also the required soft skills, because there is this is very important point, which is bridging the gap. When you are in the academia, it's different when you come to the business. So we need to bridge this gap to ensure that we care of our engineers very well. And then we have, of course, their graduation. So, and along the way, we have mentoring and coaching program to support them. A lot decided to enroll themselves or pull themselves from the program, but with the coaching and with the direction, we ensure that they are on track. I'm not going to go over the competency framework. You may look at the IEA Tech Doc 1757. It will show you exactly what is required from the regulator. You can see quadrant level 2. This shows you guys as engineers and what is required from you as a university and as a qualification to ensure that you are meeting those requirements. And of course, in level 1 and 3, this is something that comes within a development along the way and by practice. And the behavioral competencies, this always change because it depends how we want to ensure our staff and where, what standard level we want them to be on. This slide takes you over how you can start the journey of your competency. Each employee, the competency profile is like your booklet. Always you need to have it. It's your textbook that will guide you how to be expert, how to be a regulator, an effective regulator that can really perform very well in doing the inspections or assessments and etc. This is an important slide here, which is how we ensure our inspectors are qualified. So yes, we have the engineers, they graduated, but how they will go to the operator and to the licensees and they will inspect them. Yes, they will have the regulations, they have the guides, they have the instructions, but we have to train them first. So we take them over an inspector training program. It's a 2 weeks program. All engineers are enrolled into it, and they take an overall understanding about the basics, and then we take them in depth about the requirements of it. Of course, that we always give them refresh trainings. We have always circles of discussions among them. For example, this year in 2021, they saw or observed those certain challenges when they did inspection. So we sit together as an experts. They have a kind of discussions to ensure that we are in the right track. Ministry of Justice training, this is really very important because I could not go to the field without having this resolution signed by the minister to ensure that all of the names who took this training is qualified as inspectors by law. And then we have the on-job training. This is also very important. We have a committee. So while I am presenting here, the committee is running now to qualify some of our inspectors, just for them to ensure that they completed the requirements of the on-job training, they finished all of the requirements of being a qualified inspectors, and they are always observed. So they don't, yes, I'm qualified, I'm inspector, but you will be observed by a lead inspector that you will always shadow in order to be in a level that you will inspect as required. Of course, this is really very important and shows how we care about the inspectors. This is just in a very general ways of part of our learning and development programs. Scholarship is very important, as mentioned by Dr. Saeed earlier. Our last graduate was Sana Blal. She graduated from the master program. We ensure that our master's or PhD students should be engaged in their thesis on one of the topics that were discussed with Khalifa University as a challenge, for example, for us, or to activate some of the external agreements we had with the international colleagues in FANR. So secondment program is very important, or we call it in other words, fellowship or on-job training. We ensure to send our staff to international entities. One of them is USNRC, so they can learn the best practices. And this showed for us in FANR how it is really very important to send the staff to be working with other regulators to understand and to open their eyes and, let me say, put them out of the box. So this is always ongoing, and we are trying to support from this perspective. I'm going to give you an example. A human factor which is related for safety culture, it's very important. Sitting in the control room and ensuring that we are, or the operators are operating up to the level of standards, it's important. It's challenged in UAE. We don't have this kind of courses in our curriculum, so we need to ensure that we send our staff to learn about this kind of competencies. Technical training, I just listed for you some of the examples for it. Our developee program, our leadership program. Just to show you an example, you may have or someone tells you that a regulator shouldn't work with an operator. But myself, I work very closely with my colleague Ahmed Al-Naimi to ensure that we are up to the level of the requires. Whatever issues they have in R&D, we try also to check in FANR, and we work together in the research, and the same also with Khalifa University. So this shows the collaboration. We just had last week 8 employees graduated from NAWA program, the Senior Reactor Operator program, and it was delivered by our colleagues in NAWA. So this shows how we are sharing the resources and how we are collaborating together, although each entity is independent. I'm trying to give you examples just to think about the ways how we are collaborating as entities. So we have the part task simulator. It is similar to Baraka control room. We use it for certain scenarios, for hands-on experience, for our emergency preparedness, and etc. Yes, and I'm not going to go over the leadership competencies. This is what's required from our competencies, and now we are collaborating with our colleagues in NAWA to send our staff to learn about more what or how a nuclear leader should be. My last slide is going to focus on research and development, and here in this slide shows that in the nuclear law in article number 5, why it is important that FANR needs to have projects of R&D, and what is the main requirements of having it. So I try to summarize it for you here. As I mentioned, it's part of our decision making. It's a part of our cooperation, either nationally or internationally, and finding the best practices, and also from scientific basis, how we are working, how we are collaborating, how we are conducting the research. It shouldn't be a basic research. We need to move to applied research. This doesn't show that FANR should be a research entity. No, we have just to ensure that we are putting things in experience. We are getting results according to a certain scenarios. And that's why we had Intech and Khalifa University supporting us from this aspect. This is some of the themes. You may saw them in the slides of Dr. Saeed. What are the areas as FANR we are focusing on? The top priority is Baraka, the nuclear power plant, and all of the safety projects related for it. Waste management is really very important for us, and we are exploring further in it, and the environment. So you can see that we are touching on the core business of FANR. This is some of the projects that we have running in place now. You can see US, for example, NRC, how we are relying on them in certain coding system, and how we are getting those coding to ensure that we are in the right track of our assessments. And Intech is, of course, on the top. Haldon project, it's very important. I mentioned earlier about safety culture. MDEP, which support us from other regulatory perspective, that we share our knowledge. Atlas, this is a successful project that we did with Khalifa University, and etc. More of other agreements. I try to be very quick. I will answer your questions, inshallah, later at the end of the session. And thank you very much. I will hand over now to my colleague, Ahmed.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ahmed Naimi. I'm the Research and Development Program Manager at the Emirates Nuclear Energy Corporation. I will be happy today to talk to you about our activities at ENIC and also talk about beyond the Baraka plant operation. As you know, we are operating the Baraka nuclear power plant, which is in UAE, 4 power plants, and this program is focused on providing energy to the UAE. So we'll start with that the UAE generates the largest share of the UAE electricity, which is Baraka power plant, and it generates significant emissions and contributes to climate change, but it's also reliable as a transition fuel. It's also an important part of UAE energy mix, but it also operates only when energy sunlight is available, and this you can see the solar power. You can see the difference here, and these are the challenges that you can face. And looking at the wind, it's an important technology, but for reduction in the global greenhouse. But the problem is that it always depends on the wind and depends on the climate. And finally, you can see the energy mix here in the UAE, and this is, by the way, the energy mix. And coming to nuclear, it's a clean, proven, and commercial viable technology that will deliver 24 hours a day electricity in the base load and with zero emissions. So this is the largest source of clean energy electricity in the developed economics today. Now, we all need energy sources working together in a balanced portfolio to achieve the net zero by 2050. And this is basically why UAE have developed the nuclear power plant, which is important for us and also for the region, especially when we deal with such technology in a harsh environment, and gaining that experience is very important for us to have that knowledge, and also to showcase it to other countries around the world, and also be regional leaders in the nuclear power energy. Looking at Baraka overall construction progress, as you know, we have 4 units. The first unit, alhamdulillah, we have it's now in commercial operation. Unit 2 now it's in the process to connect to the grid, and hopefully we'll hear the good news in the coming days. And we have unit 3, which is currently complete in construction, and they are preparing for operation. And finally, unit 4 is now into 92%. And as you can see, the project within at the start of 2010, and now you can see how we are really achieving our targets and having the first unit operated, and currently we're having learning experience from it. And now comes our department at R&D, Research and Development, to enhance and support the operations with different studies that will look at various research focus areas that I will be talking about it in the coming slides. And part of that also having the Emirates Nuclear Technology Center at Khalifa University, which is, as Shayma mentioned, a joint collaboration between us, ENIC, FANR, and Khalifa, is very important to make sure that all of us have the focus towards developing the capabilities at UAE to support the plant and to support the operator, to make sure that the needs of R&D are available at UAE, and also ensure that we have compliance to the regulator, ensure that our power plant looks and have the latest technology and support for certain issues or assurance for certain circumstances, which is very important and an important part of R&D. And of course, Khalifa University, having the nuclear department, will play a big role into supporting that effort. And of course, with students having the research is going to be a very great opportunity for you to look at how do we work at the power plant. And also we at Khalifa, we had also students coming at Baraka and looking at the different parameters, and also have students that is associated with projects that is related to Baraka, coming to Baraka and looking at the parameters and having hands-on experience, which really is unique, not only to other countries, but really having that relationship is very important. Now, saving our climate. Baraka plant leads the biggest decarbonization effort in the country. So you can see here that Baraka will prevent the release of more than 22.4 million tons of CO2 emissions every single year, which is huge. That is equivalent to 370 million trees in 10 years, which is equivalent to the emissions from charging 7.4 billion smartphones each day. And you can see how significant it is. And the 4 plants will contribute to around 25% of UAE's electricity need, which is really important for only 4 plants, and having that sustainable energy coming without any disruption, as you can see, is going to be hopefully reliable and clean. Now, we cannot do all of this without developing human capacity, which is very important. And an important part of it is that we had developed throughout the 10 years of ENEC and over 3,000 employees at ENEC, NAWA, and Baraka One company. We have 40% who are under 35 years old, which you can see we have a young workforce and Emiratis that are joining us and learning from the experiences around the world and best practices. We have 20% female employees, which is high compared to other nuclear energy power plants. We have over 350 scholarship graduates that we achieved, and we have a lot of them working at ENEC Enterprise, whether it's at ENEC, NAWA, or Baraka One company. We have over 50 nationalities from all over the world coming and sharing their experiences and contributing towards learning, and having the best practices for operating the power plants. We are also having 119 research reactor operators and reactor operators, and we have a lot of young Emiratis, as Chairman mentioned, are trained and are working in the control room and supporting the operations at Baraka. And finally, we have 2,000 UAE nationals which have worked on the program since the inception of the program since 2009. And you can see this number, of course, is going to grow with the units coming in operations, and we look forward for the contribution of our UAE nationals. Now, building our national talents, and this is the set of SROs and senior reactor operators that are trained and ready for the operations at Baraka, and you can see they are met by our senior top Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, and also the different members and board members, whether it's from FENER and ENEC, which really are proud that we have such young Emirati talents developed in that short period and gain that experience to have the power plant operated by our young nationals. This is a video. I'll try to see if it's going to work, but maybe I can go to the next slide. Now, looking at our program, as I mentioned, we have our program inception from 2009, and we have now our operations. Unit 1 is ongoing, but again, the most important part is to have an R&D. So we developed back in 2021 the ENEC Research and Development R&D roadmap, which is a roadmap that talks about supporting the power plants and also contributing to the labs and to the academia part, looking at also the international institutes and entities around the world that we have that collaboration with, and also looking at supporting the operations and enhancing the different parts of the power plant. And finally, looking also for new technologies and artificial intelligence, which is very important to take that and to integrate it in our operations. Now we have 12 energy nuclear research focus areas, and this is the outcome of our roadmap. So I'm just giving you some glance of what we are doing. And those focus areas are going to cover different aspects of the operations at Baraka. So part of that, there will be different research focus areas, whether it's going to be chemistry, concrete, fuel, human factor, long-term operations, maintenance, material, power optimization, safety analysis, sustainability, and spent fuel and radioactive waste. So you can see the vast areas that we are focusing, and we have a lot of opportunities and for our students also here to gain their expertise and have that opportunity. And also we'll enhance that. You can see advanced maintenance. It will tackle some of the different focus areas. We can also assess asset health integrity. Also you can see, look at the material, protection, concrete, and so on. Digital twin, it is an artificial intelligence is very important, especially to target the areas in maintenance and human factors. And advanced manufacturing, of course, will tackle materials. You have the 3D printing and a lot of activities that can be drawn around those different focus areas. Now, the nuclear science and technology. And of course, we not only focus on nuclear energy, but the nuclear R&D research touches with different areas that is non-electricity. So it can also have agriculture as part of that R&D, space, manufacturing, oil and gas, medicine and environment. And all of that also utilizes nuclear technology. So you can see a lot of synergies between us, and our enterprise has met with a lot of different sectors and to try to look at different areas for collaboration. For example, ADNOC in the oil industry, space, the Emirates Space Agency, and so on. And you can see here the different technology that we are trying to look at and try to enhance the reactor vessel with the different materials, and R&D plays a very important role, and also modeling and a lot of activities that can be done through research and development. Also fuel plays a very important part and for the power plant, and also we have a lot of research areas where we focus on developing accident-tolerant fuel research, which will have an enhancement to the safety of the fuel and the power plant. New technologies are coming, and also you hear a lot of hydrogen energy that has been used, and currently at the enterprise we are looking at opportunities in how to utilize the hydrogen energy to enhance our operations and utilize the electricity. This diagram shows the core of our program, which is the nuclear power plant, and then you have the regulator who ensures the safety of the power plant and grants us license. And you can see the academia plays a very important role, which is the Emirates Nuclear Technology, for contributing to the R&D. And we have also partnership with the different R&D institutes around the world to support us into developing R&D projects. And finally, we collaborate also with the industry that will help us to implement the ideas that we do. So you can see different TRL levels, technology readiness levels, from 1 to 9, and we focus, and we want, the ultimate goal is to have our projects being utilized at Baraka to enhance the safety and also look at the sustainability of our program. And we also look at that from the STEM view, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which plays a very important role into having those capabilities and develop them for the R&D program. Finally, this is the last slide, and I would like to ask the question, do you want to be part of something great and influence our sustainable future? At the end of the presentation, thank you very much, and I will be happy with my colleagues to hear from you any questions that you would like to ask us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed and Shaima, for your nice presentations. And I think now we'll open it for any questions from the audience here that they have for us. Well, let's see the.
Regarding initiating research project, do you have a mechanism for initiating such project, or you have call for proposal cycle, or what's the framework?
Yes. So actually, we have the Emirates category steering committee. So basically, there are both ways. For example, from our side as the ENIC enterprise, we have we don't have actually calling for papers, but yes, our mechanism is that we are always open to ideas in our enterprise. And so we have different sessions with different departments at the operating company NAWA, and also at ENIC to look at the needs. So each department will send us the needs. Actually, in the roadmap that I presented, there are 12 focus areas, and we had developed the needs. And each year we go to them back and have those needs updated. And from those needs, then we look at what are the things that we'd like to have proposals. And of course, there are short-term needs, medium and long. Short-term is always going to be our priority because we need to solve and address the regulatory issues and also the operational challenges or any questions that they would like to answer. We also look at further medium and long term. We have a mix, and the next step that we do is that we have a research steering committee in our company. So actually, any project that is urgent, we take it to, for example, our stakeholders such as the ANTC to call for papers and to search and to develop that proposal. Because at the end, there is after that you need to propose to have a full proposal that will take time and efforts to understand what are the needs and also to understand the capabilities that is provided by the ANTC. And we have the steering committee at the ANTC later to take those full proposals and have the approval process to prepare for the budget accordingly.
By invitation only, or
No, it's not. It is for the stakeholders, because ENTC is for the stakeholders. So they serve the projects for the stakeholders, whether it's going to be for ENIC, whether it could be for FANR. So these projects come to the steering committee and going to be filtered. In addition to the Khalifa University also activities and projects that they call for, that also goes to the steering committee for approval. So it's and as I mentioned, the steering committee is comprised of three: ENIC, FANR, and Khalifa.
Still, I didn't get how to apply for these problems and to formulate a proposal.
Yes. To apply, I mean, from which perspective? I mean, from... yes. Yes, there is a committee area, and you apply for, and you prepare a draft, and you apply for it. But then we need to make sure that, we can link that proposal to ENIC enterprise. So you need to come back and through the ENTC, and we can be linked with us to make sure that we can have a proposal that will fit, and also with FANR.
So I think if you are from KU, I think you can reach the ENTC director. I think he's with us here, Dr. Francois Falloon, and just express your idea. And if we see an interest, of course, this will be discussed with the stakeholders within the ENTC, and then we will update you on that. Okay? Yes, please.
Good morning. So should we be member of the ENTC to
propose research projects, or just we approach the research center and then propose the research project?
So the ENTC is a multidisciplinary center. It's not only nuclear engineering department center. So I think members of the ENTC are members that are involved in projects within the ENTC. So if you are not involved in any project before and you are willing and have interest and you have an idea that could be of interest to the center and the stakeholders, yes, you can join and start discussing that, and hopefully the idea will go forward and you will be a member of the NTC in the future.
And is there any mechanism to join the center, or you just approach the director of the center?
Yes, I think approaching the center director, and also it's based in project based. Yes, so if we can see some interest in the topics that you are willing to work on, and this grabbed the attention of the members of the steering committee and the stakeholders of the ENTC, it could be yes, it's easy for you to join the center.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Maytha.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for your presentations. My name is Maytha Al-Alaliri. I'm a PhD student here at Khalifa University, and my question is, will there be more student, company, or industry collaboration? In the sense, for those who are not in the industry, like myself, I'm aware that previous students did work at ENEC, FENAR, etc. However, myself, I am full-time student here at Khalifa, and I would like more exposure to the industry, to expand my network, to expand my technical skills. As Mr. Ahmed mentioned, more hands-on work. For example, I'm working on the ATF projects. However, I've never been to Baraka Power Plant to see or where possibly in the future my work would be employed. So I was thinking, is there any future plans for such collaborations, for such trainings, to meet and see what it's like in the industry?
I think it's clear. Maybe Shaima, you want to talk about that?
So to answer your question, this is related for work placement. And from another angle also, it's an internship for graduate students. So we do have an internship program. I have my colleague Hanan, she's responsible of it. And we accept students for the sake only of ensuring that they gain the experience. And as I mentioned earlier, they have the sense of how does an organization run or what's the activities. So from a regulator perspective, we accept interns. We are looking and considering the work placement, because as of my knowledge now, most of organizations require new employees or candidates to have volunteering or a work placement experience, and etc. So we are looking at it in our organization, and we have a sense of acceptance from the management to accept students that comes from the university, to support them and ensure that they gain and they have this kind of competencies. Visiting Baraka, it's with Ahmed.
Yes, as you mentioned, definitely we'll be always happy to arrange those visits, and also to link it with, as you mentioned before, we had some projects that is performed at Khalifa, and we had people from Khalifa and also University to come to us and look at the different operations. So we always can look at those opportunities. The procedure, I mean, it will be through the NTC. We can always, through our colleagues in NTC, they can arrange those visits, and we can then they can coordinate with us.
And with FENAR, what was the procedure? It's the same. For example, Dr. Saeed can communicate with us. We just need an official letter or an official email that will work, and then we could arrange and do certain type of administrative work, and then we can communicate it. So it's an easy way forward. Welcome.
Well, we can apply for undergraduate program of 12 months.
Okay, so this developee program, it's for our new joiners that comes within a technical background or engineers. So as soon that you join the organization, يعني for example, we accept you in FANR, we finished the interview stages and the recruitment, you signed, you accepted the offer and signed the contract, we have you on board and immediately you are enrolled in the program. Either individually, we try to make it both ways. Individually, to have a dedicated program only for you, just to not miss the talent employees and graduates, or you will be within a group. So you can apply via our human resources or through the channel of the university, and we'll be able to support you and find a position, inshallah.
Maybe just to clarify on this, do you need an entry level for this and a bachelor?
No, yes. Basically, there is a certain requirement. So we in FANR, we only recruit bachelors, masters, and PhD. So you have to complete your bachelor in order for you to be recruited in the organization. So as I mentioned earlier, since you come from an engineering background, you have different, we have 4 departments that we look into the resources and how we will be able to support the manpower. So a bachelor degree or qualification is required. Of course, we have kind of filtering and assessments and etc. If you are accepted, you will be handed over to HR, and from HR to education and training, and my team will be able to support you.
Is it any opportunity this summer to do the internship?
Hanan, you will accept? Yes, yeah, always there is a chance. Yes, you can just communicate with us. I always gonna put Dr. Saeed or Dr. Yasin, the focal point with us. Communicate with them, and they will inform us, and we can accommodate you. Yes.
So we have some question here in the chat actually. One question is, are there plans to expand Baraka to 8 units?
I mean, this is always an early question. We don't know what's happening, but currently we have the 4.
Okay, so there is nothing planned till now.
No.
So the other question we have is, if I am fresh graduate with bachelor degree with a nuclear minor, would I be able to work if didn't finish my military service first? I don't know. This is like maybe HR. It's like an HR question maybe. I don't know if you have any answer for that.
Well, we work closely with HR. It depends. Probably sometimes it's mandatory to provide this certificate. Sometimes the military delay the training. So cases are different, and they need to look at it.
So case by case.
Case by case, yeah.
Last one maybe here we have in the chat. What about the requirement of finishing the military service? It's the same thing, I think.
Same answer, yeah.
Yep. Any other question we have? Maybe one last question. Yes.
Is part of your mandate to support startup or SMEs, support your operation, or you don't have any requirement or any preference to startup?
In terms of startups, I don't know what is exactly the
startup that will look into solving one of your thematic problems, for example.
Yes, so actually I've been looking at those, we go to usually because when a startup, it depends, if it's maybe an early stage, right? It's not going to be, but currently we're more focused into looking at institutes that are in advanced phase. But in terms of startup, it's not yet. And of course, this always depends on the subject. But currently, we are not, having that idea. Thank you.
So I think if you don't have any further question here, for the students, I mean, if you have any question, you can always approach either myself or the nuclear engineering department share about any interest you have in the program. And even if you have any questions really of importance to the stakeholders, also approach us and we can channel that through. Thank you all for attendance, and hope we see you in the future, coming future, inshallah, in our program. Thank you.